sometimes in a relationship, things can get a little bit too intense. And it's always important to remember that we're individuals before we are couples.
It's interesting, isn't it, how the first year of marriage is supposed to be the best, and for us it's been the worst.
We are really, we're really good at dealing with long distance relationships, but it is, to me, the biggest challenge. I want to be with my wife.
Hi everyone, my name is Noel. I'm one of the founders of Nude Media, and welcome back to the 4th episode of People and Stories. This time around, we're going to do something a little bit different, where I'm going to interview two of my friends who got married but have been apart for almost a year. Pretty interesting, right? So let's dive right into the interview. Today, I'm going to interview my world's favorite couple, Ari and Hannah. And by the way, I'm also their best man. All right, Hannah, you can start first.
You are our best man, and you're the best man. I'm Hannah Yellow. I'm 23 and I'm from the UK, and Noel was the best man at our wedding. So that's why that's one of the reasons why we have the absolute privilege of being on one of Nude Media's YouTube videos. And that's my husband, so take it away.
Yes, so hi, I am the aforementioned husband. My name is Ari Putra. You can call me Ari. I have the honor and privilege of being on this channel to do this interview with Noel, who happens to not only be my best man, but also a very close friend of mine in my life. And of course, in this video as well is my ever so beautiful wife. I'm really excited to do this interview with you, Noel. So really excited to see where this goes.
So the first question is, all right, how do you communicate with each other?
But being real, we use text and we use phone calls most of the time. Sometimes video calls, but is it just me that finds video calling slightly awkward?
No, I don't think it's awkward. I think it's just, since we're doing the whole long distance thing, it'd be just great if we could, make the most out of video calling in terms of making it special, so. We do video call each other, don't get us wrong, we do that, I would say quite regularly, but only when the occasion fits. Majority of the time we usually just kind of text him.
Yeah, well, he doesn't find anything awkward, so, maybe it's just me, but yeah, I agree with him. I think video calling every day, it kind of just makes it, I guess it's like kind of going on dates and stuff when you have our video calls. It's kind of like more of an occasion.
Yeah, how often do you guys communicate?
Every day.
Every day?
Every day.
Wow.
Yeah.
We don't talk to each other all day, every day. I know that's probably what you might expect. No, it's mornings when I wake up, when she wakes up, when I go to sleep, when she goes to sleep. Basically, as long as we're the last people to speak to each other at the end of our days and the first people that we speak to at the beginning of our days. That's basically the foundation of our communication. Yeah. Yeah,
but as well as that, we have it's more of a recent thing actually. We've kind of occasionally taken days where we don't speak, and it's not because we don't want to speak to each other or because we have nothing to say. It's more just like, actually every couple probably goes through periods of time where they don't talk, whether they're away on a weekend with a friend or they go and stay at the parents' house or something. There's always going to be a time where they don't speak, and I think even though you're long distance, you kind of have to treat it like a normal thing. So there's also been times where we haven't spoken, but on the whole we speak every single day.
How do you keep the spark alive? How do you maintain it consistently?
Spark has two kind of meanings, doesn't it? On one hand, you think of like the romance, and you think of the love and the kind of connection, and then you have the sexual side. For us, we don't particularly like talking about that side of our relationship. I guess we can touch on it slightly. If I was to say how to keep the spark alive romantically, I think it's probably the most important thing is talking about things that either both of you or one of you is interested in, because I think it's very easy to get caught up in chit chat and like talking about stuff that's going on, and especially everything at the moment, but actually to have proper conversations about topics. I mean, I love a debate, so as he well knows and sometimes finds it annoying, but to actually talk about topics, you know, things that matter, I suppose. And then if I was to kind of go to the more sexual side of things, it will probably, I guess it will kind of be a similar style, just in the sense that doing things that that other person likes and not always doing something for your own benefit. Because sometimes, again, we get caught up in ourselves and what we want and what we need. And I think sometimes you do have to very much think about the other person, and that's what being in a relationship is all about. So that's probably what I would say about it.
Like a good mindset to have, like what I have in my mind is like, am I as curious about who she is as I was when I first saw her? Do you know what I mean? Like, am I as into or curious? Do I want to know her more? Do I want to keep, you know, what would you say, just kind of like peeling off the layers and getting to know her better? She's an amazing person. My wife's an amazing person. I'm constantly learning things about her. I'm constantly learning different things about the way she sees the world, and I think that's an amazing thing to have when you're constantly wanting to know more about your partner. So just, I guess it's a good mindset to have. So yeah. And you gotta make your partner wanna know more about you as well. You know, you don't want to be a boring person. Yeah,
that's right.
Why we kind of focus on a more romance side of things is because I think that you know, the sexual side of a relationship stems from that. If you don't have, I mean, that's not the same for people who like do one night stands and things like that. But if you're in a long-term relationship, that side of your relationship very much depends on the romance and the connection and stuff like that. So yeah,
absolutely.
Has a break ever occurred to you during your relationship?
Yes. Yes. I'm sure you all heard before, but we've been together over 6 years now, coming up to 6.5 actually, scary enough. And you know, with that, that's a lot of time, that's a lot of growth. We met when we were 17. A lot's changed, like you said. You know, we're not the same people, and I think we've been through an awful lot together, but also we've done an awful lot outside of our relationship. And I think there's been a lot of external pressures, right for us, right from the start of the relationship. There's been a lot of external pressures that have put pressure on our relationship and kind of, I guess, tried to break it up to an extent, if I'm being honest about it. So if you ask, have we ever considered a break? Yes. We have even taken one. We've taken one for about 4 or 5 months when I was at university. We were just two completely different people doing two completely different things. And I think actually it was a healthy decision for the both of us. I mean, I'll let Ari talk more about it after, but it was definitely the right thing for us. And I think actually for anyone who is in a long-term relationship or even a short-term one and is considering a break, there's nothing wrong with you. It's not like you shouldn't feel terrible about it. Sometimes we just need space, and provided you can come to like some sort of mutual decision and it works for both of you, then I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But for us, yes, we have, and I can be quite candid about that because I'm a very open book. Like if someone asks me a question, are we taking a break? Yeah, I have, and I'm not ashamed.
Yeah, you know, the breaks are nothing to be ashamed of. Breaks are absolutely nothing to be ashamed of, because sometimes in a relationship things can get a little bit too intense, and it's always important to remember that we're individuals before we are couples. We kind of need to take time to understand ourselves. When our relationship, we'll use our relationship as an example. When we took that break, we didn't know what we wanted from our relationship. We didn't even know what we wanted from ourselves. And it became a very toxic environment.
Yeah.
So we decided, we got to take that break. We got to discover what makes us tick and what we're going to bring forward into this relationship in the future. And I think there's nothing shameful in that. Yeah.
So the next question is, how do you guys deal with conflict?
We trash it out. It's as simple
Yeah,
as that.
I would agree with that.
It's I think it's the best way, and it's the simplest way to deal with a conflict.
For us.
For us, that's the best way to deal with it, because we just need to say what's on our mind, and we need to hear our partner say what's on their mind. Now, wouldn't you say, babe?
I would agree, and I think, you know, no point beating around the bush. We argue, we have lots of conflict, and we do have, you know, we shout at each other and we say things that maybe we shouldn't. But I think it, you know, sometimes it's a bit unrealistic when people try and talk about conflict and say, oh, you know, you should be really calm, like, because sometimes the situation just doesn't warrant that. Sometimes it's just makes you feel a certain way where you just have to react. And I think actually stopping yourself from reacting in that very natural way can sometimes long term be actually worse. So for us, like you said, we just have it out, and we just, sometimes we shout, sometimes we scream, sometimes we say things, and we just get it all out in the open. And actually, for me, sometimes a conflict can't be resolved, and that's not to say we can't move forward from a conflict. It's more like sometimes it's just, you just can't agree on it, and there's nothing you could possibly say that's, so sometimes it's better just to go, you feel that way, I feel that way about it, put it to bed, move forward.
Absolutely. It's the easiest way to deal with it. I mean, I say it's easy, but when you get into a shouting match, it's not. When you're hearing your partner express how, you know, your actions make her feel sad or angry, or if, you know, certain things or certain things you do, certain things you say that are a norm to you, when they annoy your partner, and certainly things that I know have annoyed my wife, it's really hard to obviously accept it. But if you don't listen to them, or you don't say how you feel, what's going to happen is that it's just going to keep bottling inside. It's going to keep building up. It's going to keep, you know, it's going to add pressure that's just going to eventually blow up. Because
it's interesting you're the one asking us this question, Noel, because I feel like we're definitely talking to anyone watching this video right now, like solely because Noel has been present for at least one of our arguments. And he knows exactly how it goes. He knows exactly how it goes down. I remember sitting on the sofa opposite you. Ari was annoying me, and I was talking to you, and I was like, he's done this, and you were just there like, I don't want to get involved.
I remember. Really good experience.
You enjoyed it, didn't you? You low-key enjoyed it.
It was my highlight when I was in the UK. One of my highlights.
No, it wasn't. No, it was not.
One of my highlights. All right. So next question, so the final question is, what's the hardest challenge that you had to go through?
Well, I mean, the first thing that comes to my mind is our current situation, which is, I mean, most people won't know this. We got married last year in March, and end of March was when sort of the world turned to shit, essentially. So we have been apart since our wedding. Like, we've spent the first year, because it's coming up to 1 year of marriage now on March the 6th. So we've spent the first year of our marriage apart. I mean, I'm sure there's other people in the world that have gone through that, but for us, it's interesting, isn't it, how the first year of marriage is supposed to be the best, and for us it's been the worst. That's kind of the first thing that comes to mind. But I think instead of dwelling on that, because I feel like that's not really very, very relatable for a lot of couples, I kind of want to touch on the sort of cultural differences, I suppose. For Ari and I, we're from completely different worlds. My life in the UK and his life in Malaysia it's just worlds apart. And I think when we met, we kind of got caught up in this whirlwind romance, and it was brilliant. But I think as things go on, we kind of really started to notice how different we were. And on one hand, it's an amazing thing, because you can embrace each other. I mean, to be honest, I have a very little culture. I mean, UK is not exactly, you know, does fish and chips count? But for him, you know, there was a lot of things that I can appreciate about his culture and that I really, really like. But at the same time, it can also cause problems. I think because sometimes something is so deeply rooted in the way that you think about something or the things that you believe in. Sometimes it can be very, very difficult to see it from someone else's perspective, especially someone who's grown up in a completely different environment. So I would say actually for us, that has been one of, if not the biggest sort of long-term hurdle that we've had to, I wouldn't even say we've overcome it. I would say it's still something that's very much, we're getting used to it. And I think when we live together, and because I'm planning to move back to Malaysia, I think only then will it start to really kind of resolve itself. But yeah, I would say that's probably the biggest hurdle for us.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. The biggest challenge for me is the distance. I hate the distance. I'm a very affectionate person. I love being around my wife. Spending time with her, watching her. Sound a bit creepy. No, I just love being around her, right? And I love spending time.
Stalking me.
Yeah. I like talking to her. I like having conversations. I like exploring new things with her. I like sharing my life with her, right? And the biggest challenge for me is the fact that I'm so far away from her. I know we've been doing long distance for about 4 or 5 years now, and we are veterans at it. We are really, we're really good at dealing with long distance relationships. But it is, to me, the biggest challenge. I want to be with my wife. I don't want to be away from her.
I think it's interesting that I didn't mention that didn't come into my mind as being the first, like one of the biggest hurdles. But I guess it's because I'm so used to it.
That's why you don't like being
he's
around.
He's just needy.
What? So what?
Getting all defensive. And I think it's very hard to just pinpoint what's the biggest hurdle, because there's so many, and we've had to deal with so many different types of situations. But I also don't want to sound like a broken record. Well, the distance. No offense, sorry, but the distance is hard because it's like, people have heard it all before, long distance couples, oh, I miss you, or but there are lots of hurdles.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll tell you this. I'm just gonna answer a question that you never asked, just because I can. You have the choice of just taking it out if you want. I know my wife is gonna be like, what the hell, Ari? This is not your interview. This is Noel's interview. I'm just gonna say, one of the biggest hurdles that I have overcome in life, is finding my partner. And in realizing that, all other challenges, all other hurdles that have been presented to me in my life seem like nothing, because I have found my partner. I found the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. So yeah, you can cut that out if you want. I think in saying that, I think I've won both of your hearts. Yes. Okay, so that's good.
I'd like to thank you guys for your time to actually share your story to me, exclusively for now, and then to the world. I think that your stories will be a true inspiration to many people out there. But yeah, and I really look forward. I'm very confident that things will get better, and I look forward to seeing you guys together in person again. Yeah.
Just a quick sort of little bit of self promo. We have a Instagram page / channel called Team Tinku. It's not currently active because obviously it's not going to work at the moment, but it's there if anyone wants to follow and kind of see our journey. And also if anyone is in the same situation, I know we've only had the chance to really briefly touch on stuff, and it's kind of difficult to go into a lot of detail, but if anyone does need advice or needs just support or anything like that in terms of long distance or just anything really, then our DMs are open. So yeah.
Subscribe to their YouTube channel as well at Team Tinku.
Boom.
Yeah.
But of course, primarily subscribe to Nude Media. I mean, I can self-promo myself all I want, but subscribe, turn on notifications.